As we speak, we don't know how many of our fellow Americans are trapped behind enemy lines in Afghanistan. In recent weeks, the Biden administration has abandoned these Americans and entrusted their lives to the mercy of the Taliban. As the president leans on the goodwill of brutal terrorists to allow them to leave, we have an obligation to the families of American hostages to get them home safely. And here we are today, focusing on oversight of the Biden administration's chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan, or saving American citizens. We're here to tell the truth today about this inept administration's $3.5 trillion for the biggest entitlement expansion we have seen in a generation. The big government wish list reveals the most urgent priorities of the majority in the White House, leaving Americans behind and bankrolling socialist programs with taxpayer dollars. As we often discuss, assisting working families who are struggling with challenges like affording child care or caring for a newborn child or a sick family member is critical to building strong families and a stronger country. Republicans and Democrats have always agreed on the importance of ensuring that people have a pathway to achieve the American dream. The biggest question here today is whether we need new massive federal entitlement programs, and the answer is we don't. In April, Mr. Chairman, you sent a letter to the ranking member Brady outlining plans to put together a proposal to tackle the issue of paid family and medical leave and child care. Your letter said, quote, "We invite you and your members to bring forward your proposals. There is a strong bipartisan agreement that the current status of working families is untenable. We look forward to continuing this committee's history of bipartisan cooperation," end quote. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to submit that letter for the record.
So ordered.
As ranking member of the Worker and Family Support Committee, I was particularly encouraged by this outreach. In May, Ways and Means Committee, Republicans, alongside of the Education and Labor Committee, released a discussion draft called the Protecting Worker Paychecks and Family Choice Act. Rather than take a one-size-fits-all approach, our draft includes a comprehensive set of proposals to expand access to paid family and medical leave and child care. Our draft contains 15 different proposals that build on what's already working and targets resources where we know there are gaps in coverage and lack of access. To my great disappointment, these proposals were met with resounding silence from my Democratic colleagues. Instead, the majority has chosen radical left-wing politics over common-sense solutions that put the American people in control. 5 months later, we're considering the largest new entitlement program in a generation on the scale of Medicare at a cost of over $500 billion. This bill includes zero Republican input or bipartisan cooperation. Instead of doing the hard work of sitting down to discuss compromise and build consensus, Democrats are using a lazy, partisan budgetary tool that dismisses dissent and willfully ignores Republican proposals on the table. This bill is the wrong direction for working families and the wrong directions for this country. And as we've learned too often, Democrats' expensive policies that promise Americans their so-called free benefits come with serious trade-offs and consequences, including higher taxes, fewer jobs, more debt, and increased government dependency. Right now, Democrats want to give Washington more control over how Americans live, work, and make decisions for their families from cradle to grave. The Achilles heel of this grand plan is that it's hurried, it's partisan. This approach has resulted in a poorly designed program so bad that even the most radical Democrat lawmakers should take a second look. Ways and Means Democrats have put together a program that puts the IRS in charge of paid leave benefits for everyday Americans. Treasury itself has admitted it's unprepared to take on this program. The bill poorly targets benefits. It allows two-parent households with dual earners making up to $500,000 to claim benefits up to $30,000 per year. At the same time, it provides no minimum benefit for low-wage workers. This program is ripe for fraud, with lax requirements that rely heavily on self-certification and self-attestation. The bill fails to consider the realities of small business by allowing workers to provide merely 7 days' notice before taking leave. Employers would be left hanging and workers would be left without job protections. Finally, the bill transfers liability for pricey employer-sponsored paid leave plans to middle-class workers by subsidizing it up to 90% of the cost of what employers already are paying. Why would we ask middle-class workers to pay for Amazon's generous benefits policies? And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.